Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back with part 9 of reacting to your football hot takes. You guys are the drill, man. A couple of days back, I asked you guys on my community tab for some of your spiciest, hottest, meatiest, most veiny takes in regards to the beautiful game. And like always, you guys delivered, man. You guys never let me down. And for that, I am so thankful. We have so many great hot takes in today's video. So I don't want to drag this intro on any further. Let's get into the video. And yeah, let's start reacting to some of these hot takes. The first take we have here is Carlo Ancelotti not winning manager of the season has to be the biggest robbery we've seen. If you guys are not aware, by the way, Michel from Girona was the winner of La Liga manager of the season. Saying it's one of the biggest robberies we've seen, though, is extremely hyperbolic and honestly kind of crazy. To me, there was only 2 candidates for La Liga manager of the season. It was between Michel and Ancelotti. Nobody else was in contention, in my opinion. And I would not have been upset if Ancelotti won it the same way I'm not upset that Michel won it. Because, again, like I said, I think both of them would have been rightful winners. If I had a vote, though, I would have voted for Michel. I think what Ancelotti did this year with Real Madrid was nothing short of remarkable. I mean, that team had one of the worst injury crises in all of Europe, obviously losing the best goalkeeper in the world before the season to a 20 ACL. You lose one of the best center backs in the world in Militao before the season to another 20 ACL. And the fact that that team went nearly invincible in the league is insane. They only lost 1 game the entire league season. They went undefeated against second and third, Barcelona and Girona, and they spanked Girona both times. They didn't concede a single goal against Girona in those 2 games. And Girona was one of the best attacks in Europe, honestly, this year. So what he did was obviously amazing. All of his players overperformed, basically. They were all so good. And yeah, he just had a remarkable league season. To me, this is Ancelotti's crowning achievement. This season with Real Madrid was, to me, the best I've ever seen him be. Like, this is his peak as a manager. But Michel, I mean, he deserved it, in my opinion. And look, coach of the season rarely ever goes to the best coach. It's the same thing in the NBA or the NFL. It usually goes to the coach that overperformed the most. And he don't overperform, man. They had no business finishing inside the top 3. I know they're owned by Citigroup and they have all this money, but still, bro. Before the season started, no one had Girona in the top, like, 5 of the table. Even some people didn't have him in the top 10. And the fact that they finished 3rd and nearly finished 2nd, and they beat Barcelona twice this year is fucking remarkable. What he did with that squad was amazing, man. To me, Michel is one of the best up-and-coming managers in football. And again, like I said, Ancelotti is obviously a better manager than Michel. That's not a debate. We're not debating that. But who had a better season, who overperformed more? I think you obviously got to give it to Michel because he like I said, just exceeded expectations more than, like, no one expected them to do what they did. And the fact that they did that is, to me, in large part because of their manager. So again, if I had a vote, I would have voted for Michel. But if Ancelotti would have won, I wouldn't have been upset about that either. The next take we have here is that night at Anfield will forever be the worst night in Barca history. I 100% agree. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think most Barca fans that witness Anfield will agree with this statement. Anfield is one of the worst days of my entire life. There was one time when I was around 16 years old, I went to a baseball game and I had a hot dog, and it was a really shitty hot dog. And I was in the bathroom with cold sweats and explosive diarrhea for, no joke, 3.5 hours. I missed the whole game. And I remember sitting in that toilet, like, just fucking, like, shitting bricks and sweating. And I was like, this has to be the worst moment of my life. And then Anfield came around, and it made that day look like a walk in the park. That's how, just to put into perspective how bad Anfield was for me as a fan of Barcelona. It was the biggest collapse I've ever seen in my entire life. It was worse than when the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead to the Cavs. Honestly, it was that bad. And the fact that Barca had their 6th UCL on the palm of their hands and they had the chance to help Messi cement the greatest individual season in football history, and they let it slip away. And mind you, Liverpool, what makes it even worse, they didn't have Mohamed Salah or Bobby Firmino, 2 of their best attackers. Obviously, their best attacker, Mo Salah, he didn't play that game, and you still conceded 4. You let Gini Wijnaldum and fucking Divock Origi dunk on your head. And it was just the biggest collapse ever. It was the worst night I've ever suffered as a Barca fan. And Barca, we know, we've had some haunted nights in Europe, obviously in Europe, especially over the past decade. Roma, 8-2 against Bayern Munich, the 7-0 aggregate against Bayern Munich, the 3-0 against Juventus, where you didn't score 1 goal with MSN through 2 legs, 180 minutes, you couldn't score 1 goal. But Anfield takes the cake. Obviously this year, oh my god, I forgot about this year against PSG in Montjuic. That night was obviously awful. But the one loss that I will always remember is Anfield. Barca could win the next 15 UCLs with Hansi Flick or whoever comes in, and I'll still never forget Anfield. It's a loss that keeps me up at night till this day. So again, for me, I 100% agree with this. Again, I haven't been watching Barca for 40 years. I don't know if some Barca fans that were alive in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s can tell me about a worse loss. But from what I've seen with my own 2 eyes watching this team, Anfield was by far and away the worst loss I've ever suffered supporting any team, let alone Barcelona, obviously. The next take we have here is Motta will revive Juventus into a UCL contending club. I agree, and at the same time I disagree. Here's the thing with the UCL. The UCL is a very luck-based competition. It's luck of the draw. What teams are you playing? Are you getting the easy side of the bracket? We saw this year Borussia Dortmund, who no one had making the UCL final, is in a UCL final. So I'm not counting on Juventus to make a deep run in the UCL next year. And I do think they have a better manager. I think Thiago Motta right now is a better manager than Allegri, who I think has been washed for a couple years now. But the thing with Juventus is their squad is just not that good, man. It's not a squad that can contend in Europe at the highest level. When you look at the UCL, I mean, you got to look at teams like Bayern Munich, like Real Madrid, who are going to add Kylian Mbappe, like Man City, who are going to keep getting better, like Arsenal, like Barcelona even next year, if you want to throw them in there as well. I mean, all these great teams in Europe that are just going to keep getting better. And Juventus, unfortunately, don't have that time. Even Inter, I could throw in there. And Bayer Leverkusen, if you want to throw them in there as well, if they're gonna keep Xabi Alonso. And when it comes to Juventus, I mean, they have some good players. Obviously, Bremer had a great year. Cambiaso had a really good year. Weston McKennie had a really good year. Szczesny had a really good year for them. Who else am I missing? Vlahovic wasn't that great this year, but still, he's a really good player. So they have a couple good core pieces, but their overall squad is not nearly as good as you want it to be to contend Europe. So again, I think Motta will do a great job at Juve, and their summer signings are obviously gonna factor into this. Sorry, if they have a really good summer transfer window, they bring in some good players that could sway my opinion. But for now, with the squad that they have, just bringing in Thiago Motta, I don't think it's going to make them contend in the UCL, in my opinion at least. The next take we have here is Neymar became a more complete player at PSG. I 100% agree, bro, and I think it's because he had to. When you look at Neymar at Barcelona, first of all, he was younger than when he went to PSG, of course, and also he was part of the greatest attacking front line the game has ever seen, MSN. Nothing comes close to me. And when you have Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi next to you, who are both elite playmakers as well as goal scorers, you don't have to do as much. And then when he went to PSG, obviously that front line wasn't bad, but when you compare it to MSN, it's not going to compare because no front line compares to MSN. And when we saw Neymar at PSG, obviously it was his team. He could do a lot more because he felt that he had that confidence. When you're at Barcelona, that's Messi's team. He's going to do all that work because it's Messi. But when we went to PSG, it was kind of like, okay, this is my team now. I'm the one that has to drop deep. I can receive the ball wherever I want. I can play central. I can play out wide. And we saw that version of Neymar. I mean, Neymar, to me, his peak was at Barcelona, but when you look at him at PSG, he was so good all around. I mean, this guy was a fucking machine. His 17-18 season is one of the best seasons that I've ever seen. Again, I think his peak was at Barca, but when he became really complete as a player, we saw this, like all these different versions of Neymar who could affect the game in so many different ways. Obviously, we saw that at Barca as well, but to me, we saw it like the highest peak of it was while he was at PSG. The next take we have here is Cubarsi will be the best defender of all time if he keeps growing at this rate. I agree. And look, I understand that non-Barca fans get really mad at Barca fans because we tend to overhype our youngsters. But if you watch Pau Cubarsi play the same way that if you watch Lamine Yamal play, you cannot deny the greatness. Now, am I saying he's going to be the best center back of all time or the best defender of all time? No, because there's so many great defenders in the history of this game. Obviously, you have Maldini, you have Nesta, you have Baresi, you have Piqué, you have Puyol, you have Sergio Ramos. You have so many. I mean, there's so many great center backs in the history of this game. Beckenbauer, obviously, I'm forgetting him. But to me, look, Pau Cubarsi, what he's done at 17 years old this year is nothing short of remarkable. I mean, the second he stepped into that Barca team, it changed our season. He changed our defense, and he's one of the best ball-playing center backs I've ever seen in my life, and he's so young, bro. He's only 17, and he's already composed and wise beyond his years, and he's just a fantastic player. I cannot wait to see how Pau Cubarsi develops, and I think if he keeps going at this rate, I mean, if this guy never falls off, if he doesn't have, like, God forbid, he doesn't have any significant injuries or, like, sees career-ending injuries, and he just steadily keeps growing and keeps improving, I mean, if this, like, we just saw 6 months of Pau Cubarsi, and he was fantastic. One of the best center backs in Europe the second half of the year. Honestly, he was. Go look at the numbers. I mean, the kid was insane. So if he keeps growing at this rate, 100% I think he can be one of the best defenders in the history of this game. Now, will he be the best? I don't know. But again, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes. We'll obviously have to wait and find out. But but what I'm seeing from him right now, I wouldn't put it past him, honestly. The next take we have here is 2010-11 Barcelona is better than 08-09 Barcelona. Oh man, this is like picking your favorite child. I don't know who to pick here. Look, I love both of these teams with all my heart. They're core memories of my childhood. I will always lean towards 08-09 Barcelona because the trophy cabinet is there. That team is the first team in the history of football to win a sextuple, and the squad quality was insane. Now, 10-11 had insane squad quality as well. You had a better version of Messi, you had a better version of Iniesta, you had a better version of Piqué, in my opinion. But that 08-09 team, I mean, Messi was still Messi. He won the Ballon d'Or that year. You had Henry, who was still nearly at his peak, or a little bit, like he wasn't really at his peak like Arsenal Henry, but he was still near the peak. Eto'o was fantastic that year. Obviously, you had Busquets coming up from the first team, who was fantastic. You had Xavi, you had Iniesta, you had Piqué, you had Puyol, you had obviously Yaya Toure, you had Dani Alves, you had Silvinho, you had really, really good players. The way that they played, 10-11 Barca had just this I don't know, they had this swagger about them that 08-09 Barca had as well, but I mean, that 10-11 team, the 5-0 at Bernabeu, the 2-0 in obviously the semi-final of the UCL against Real Madrid, the 3-1 against United in Wembley, the best performance ever in a cup final in my opinion. That's obviously that obviously goes in their favor. But 08-09 Barca, I mean, you win a sextuple, it's really hard to say any other team is better than that one. And to me, like I've said it multiple times, 08-09 Barca is the best team that I've ever seen. To me, it's the greatest club team in the history of football. I think it's universally regarded as that as well. But yeah, to me, I would say it's close, but I would take 08-09 Barca slightly just because of the trophy cabinet and also because of the fact that this team it was just like, they just dominated every competition they played in. The next take we have here is Raphinha has surpassed Dembele's legacy at Barca. I 100% agree, and that's because Ousmane Dembele has no legacy at Barcelona. If he has one, it's a negative legacy. It's a bad legacy. I mean, the one thing that I think about Ousmane Dembele when I think about his time at Barca is he was always injured, he was ungrateful as fuck the way that he left, and also his miss against Liverpool. When I think about Raphinha, I think about his tie against PSG, I think about his second half of the year. And he peaked higher than Dembele ever did at Barca. And so to me, 100% agree with this. I think Raphinha is already a bigger Barca legend. If you want, I don't think Raphinha is a Barca legend, but if you have to say which one is a bigger Barca legend, Raphinha or Dembele, I'll give it to Raphinha because, like I said, Dembele's legacy at Barca is not existent. If he does have one, it's negative. That guy did fuck all the 5 years or whatever he was at the club, and then he goes to PSG and just fucks us over. He was irrelevant the whole year for PSG. Then he goes to, then he plays against Barca and becomes prime R9 and scores all these fucking goals. So yeah, bro, the fact that he did that with PSG against Barcelona just brings his legacy down even more. But yeah, to me, Raphinha 100% has a bigger legacy. I mean, Dembele never showed up in a big UCL moment for Barca, in a big European night for Barca, and Raphinha did it multiple times. He did it against Napoli, he did it against PSG, in both legs, by the way. If we would have gone through against PSG, it would have been because of Raphinha. So yeah, to me, 100% agree. The next take we have here is a lot of people saying Real Madrid is lucky to win all these super close UCL games, completely undermine how difficult it is to do it on a consistent basis and how impressive their winner's mentality is. I 100% agree. I think when it comes to knockout slot competitions, there's always luck involved. No matter what team it is, always there's luck involved. And Real Madrid over the past 10 years, when they've been really this European juggernaut, obviously historically they're a European juggernaut, but I'm talking about since La Decima, they've obviously had a lot of luck in some of these games that they've played, and a lot of questionable or dodgy refereeing decisions. But still, bro, you cannot, like, you don't win all these UCLs just by refereeing. It just doesn't happen. And I can, like this year against Bayern Munich, the prime example, Alphonso Davies scored that goal, obviously in the Bernabeu. And they were up in that tie on aggregate. I never for a second thought Real Madrid were not going to score in that game. Never for a second. Never. And I was rooting against them. And I never thought they weren't going to score. And when Joselu scored that first goal, I was like, okay, yeah, obviously that was going to happen. And then when he scored that second goal, I was like, of course that's going to happen. And fucking Joselu, bro. It's something about that team and that competition. When their players play, they just turn up every single time. And so again, to me, when you look at Real Madrid, it's a testament to, you know, the mentality of those players and just like the way that they play in that competition. It's something that I've never seen before. Honestly, I'm not trying to glaze the rivals here, but I mean, dude, what they've done over the past couple years in that competition is insane. Their run 2 years ago was crazy. Their run this year has been obviously amazing as well, beating Man City at the Etihad, or knocking them out, sorry, not beating, but knocking them out on penalties when no one gave them a chance. Even I actually gave them a chance. Most people didn't give them a chance, but I, funny enough, gave them a chance. And this year against Bayern Munich, your backs are against Europe in your home stadium, and you still find a way to win. And you can go back, obviously, historically, back to other UCLs that they've won. It's just, like, it's crazy what they do. And again, I think there's a lot of luck and dodgy refereeing calls involved. But if you're going to say it's all luck, you're completely undermining how difficult it is to do so. And you're just taking away from those players who, again, they show up when it matters the most every single time, and you know, it's just what happens. The next take we have here is the Copa America run did more for Messi's legacy at the time than the World Cup. Yeah, of course. I mean, at the time, yeah, because Messi had never won an international tournament, and winning the Copa America was obviously huge for him. Messi had obviously lost the Copa America final in 07 against Brazil. He lost it in 2015. He lost it in 2016. And to come back in 2021 and win it in the way that he did, I mean, being the best player in that tournament, just carrying Argentina to that tournament win, was obviously amazing. Now, which one helped his legacy more? 100% the World Cup. The World Cup is the one trophy that can affect any player's that can elevate any player's legacy 10x. If you win a World Cup, your legacy is automatically like you're just up. Like if you were here, you're up here in terms of legacy. I mean, what that trophy does for an individual player is insane. It's crazy. We talk about Hugo Lloris being a World Cup winner. People still talk about Mustafi being a World Cup winner. I mean, and when Messi did the World Cup, obviously the way he won it was amazing. But yeah, at the time, the Copa America, of course. But to me, overall, when it comes to Messi's legacy, the one thing that helped it the most was obviously, like, not that Messi's legacy needed help, but the one trophy that he needed the most and to win was the World Cup, to really cement himself as the greatest of all time, even though I already thought he was the greatest of all time before the World Cup, before the Copa America. But for the casuals or the non-believers, when he won that, I mean, that's really what propelled him to be the greatest of all time. And I don't think people really felt that way with the Copa America. So again, at the time, the Copa America was obviously great, and I'm happy he won it. But when it comes to the World Cup, nothing compares. The next take we have here is Lewa is clear of Benzema, and it's not comparable. That profile picture is throwing me off, bro. I'm kind of getting turned off by Drake looking at me like that. But anyway, I disagree. I think when you're saying it's not comparable, look, man, these two are in the same tier. When it comes to the best strikers of this generation, Suarez to me is in a tier of his own. But the next tier is Lewa or Benzema, and you can order those guys in like any way you want. You can put Lewa 2 and Benzema 3, or Benzema 3 and Lewa 2. But to say that it's not comparable is crazy, man. What Karim Benzema did at Real Madrid was nothing short of remarkable, man. And what Lewa did at Bayern Munich was obviously insane. He's one of the best strikers of all time. But Benzema, bro, his legacy, I mean, he built his legacy at one of the biggest clubs of all time. Or people say the biggest club of all time. And obviously, Leo did as well, Bayern Munich. But what Benzema did in that UCL run in 2021, 2022, to me, just, I mean, winning the Ballon d'Or, obviously, Leo should have won a Ballon d'Or in 2020. They were talking about giving him one, like FIFA was going to give him one, but that didn't happen. But anyway, moving on past that. Again, I think Leo was a little bit better all time. I think when it comes to, like, his peak, it was just longer and he was more dominant for a longer period of time, in my opinion, because, again, a lot of times Benzema played second fiddle to Ronaldo and those Real Madrid teams. But we saw once Ronaldo left, what Benzema was really capable of. I mean, Benzema was really, like, first of all, as a playmaker, Benzema is clear. He's just a way better playmaker than Lewandowski. There was a decent playmaker, but when it comes to playmaking, Benzema, you could argue, is the greatest playmaking 9 in the history of this game. He's insane. And also the finishing, I think, goes to Lewa. But later on in his career, Benzema became a really good finisher. Early on, Benzema struggled with it. But later on, he was an elite finisher, obviously, in front of goal. But again, to me, it slightly goes to Lewa because I think his peak just lasted a little bit longer. But if we're going one season, I mean, Leo's 2019, 2020 was insane. But I would honestly I would say I give it to Benzema in 21, 22 again because of UCL and what he did. But I think both of these guys are class. But again, I think both of these guys are class. To me, Suarez, like I said, is number 1. But second or third, you could order these guys anyway. But to say it's not comparable, it's just disrespectful to Karim Benzema, who's one of the greats of this game. The next take we have here is Bayer Leverkusen will beat Real Madrid convincingly if they face tomorrow. You see, what gets me is the convincingly. I think Bayer Leverkusen could beat Real Madrid because they've only lost one game this whole year. But to say convincingly is crazy. This would be a great game, honestly. If they face up in the UCL, that would be insane. Because Bayer Leverkusen, like I said, lost one game this whole year. And Real Madrid lost 2 games this whole year. They've only lost 2. And they were both to the same team, Atletico Madrid. I think this would be a great game. I think Real Madrid would win it because I think they just have more talent. But yeah, to say they would beat them convincingly is fucking crazy, man. Real Madrid have a really good team, and obviously Bayer Leverkusen do as well. But the firepower and the star power goes to Real Madrid. So again, for me, I would love to see this. Like, I can't wait to see this. I hope we see this in the Super Cup. No, actually, I don't, because I hope Real Madrid lose. But if we do see this in the Super Cup, I'll be glued to my chair and watching it. But yeah, to say they would beat them convincingly is kind of disrespectful to a team that nearly won invincible in the league and is in the UCL final, in my opinion at least. And again, you guys know I'm not the biggest Real Madrid fan, but to say convincingly, it's kind of wild. The next take we have here is Manchester United had a better season than Arsenal and Liverpool. Oh man, this is the age-old debate. Everybody's having this debate now since Man United won the FA Cup last Saturday against Man City. And I would say yes. I think trophies matter, bro. What Man United did in the FA Cup obviously has to matter. I mean, winning that trophy, the FA Cup to me is the second most important trophy in England. Obviously, Liverpool won the EFL Cup. It's not the same. The FA Cup is a bigger trophy than the EFL Cup by a lot, in my opinion. Honestly, it just is. I know they're both domestic cups, but the FA Cup, the history that it has and just the prestige, it's much larger than the Carabao Cup or the Carling Cup or the EFL Cup, whatever it is. So again, to me, I would give it that trophy. Like, when it comes to trophy for trophy, I would say Man United have a bigger trophy than Liverpool, and obviously we know Arsenal didn't win a trophy. Arsenal pushing City all the way. I mean, it's great. You don't get a trophy for that. And, you know, they're going to walk away this season empty-handed. That's not great. And I know Man United got knocked out in the group stages of the UCL, but still, they didn't even make Europa League, by the way. They got knocked out of Europe entirely in the when they left the UCL. But still, bro, Liverpool, you lose in the Europa League, you completely collapse the second half of the year. I know you won like I said, I know you won the EFL Cup, but to me, winning the FA Cup is a huge trophy, and you're beating your rivals, your derby rivals, your city rivals in Man City when no one gave you a chance, and really outplaying them in that game, thoroughly outplaying them, especially in that first half. To me, I 100% agree. I think it's going to go to City. I think they had the better year than Liverpool and Arsenal. So yeah, I agree with this take. The next take we have here is Hansi Flick will become the new Coleman. Why are so many Barca fans preying on Hansi Flick's downfall? It really makes no fucking sense to me. You should be hyping this guy up. He's your new manager, bro. Again, I don't know if this guy's a Barca fan. Maybe I'm just like assuming here. But if you are a Barca fan, why are you saying this? I've seen a lot of Barca fans talking about how Hansi Flick will fail. He's the next Ronald Koeman. They're not comparable at all, guys. Look at Ronald Koeman's managing history before Barcelona. It wasn't great. Look at the squad that Ronald Koeman went into. Yes, Ronald Koeman had Messi, but the squad around Messi was fucking shit. Hansi Flick has a much better team. Again, he doesn't have Messi, but the team overall and the structure is better. It's just better. And Hansi Flick is a sextuple winning manager. Ronald Koeman never came close to winning a sextuple in his fucking life, bro. Like, Hansi Flick did that. Now, obviously, Hansi Flick coached Bayern Munich, and Ronald Koeman never managed a team that big. He coached Everton. He coached, obviously, the Netherlands on the national team. But again, winning a sextuple is winning a sextuple. Put some respect on our new manager's name, who's the only other manager besides Pep Guardiola to win a sextuple in the history of this game. And saying he's the next Ronald Koeman is crazy. Hansi Flick is a proven manager. Again, people don't like what he did in Germany. That's fine. I don't care about that because it's a national team. But at the club level, in like that season in 2019, 2020 when he came in for Kovac, he dominated football. And then the next season, if it wasn't for injuries, they'd probably beat PSG in that quarterfinal. Who knows what happens? But to me, I would say that no. Hansi Flick saying he's a new Koeman is extremely disrespectful to Hansi Flick, who's a proven manager, and comparing him to Ronald Koeman, who's quite frankly terrible and who we should have never hired, is stupid in my opinion. The next take we have here is football will begin to decline. The Premier League has become a farmers league. All of our favorite players are beginning to leave Europe, and Real Madrid are currently making a super team that will dominate Europe for the next decade. Look, bro, I agree, but here's the thing. If you're around my age, I'm 22 years old. If we grew up around my generation of football, everything after that was going to be a decline. We were fortunate enough, in my opinion, I might be biased here, maybe some older people disagree. I think we were fortunate enough, again, in my age group, we were fortunate enough to grow up in the greatest era of football of all time. Seeing Messi versus Ronaldo, that rivalry, seeing Real Madrid versus Barcelona, seeing Mourinho versus Pep, seeing Man City, seeing Sir Alex Ferguson's Man United, seeing Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, seeing all these teams, seeing Bayern Munich win a treble. I mean, Robin, Messi, Ronaldo, Di Maria, Bale, Neymar, Suarez, Benzema, Lewa, I mean, Griezmann, all these great players we got to see. It's obviously going to go downhill after that because it's just not going to compare, bro. And football has, the more time that passes, the more football becomes business-centric. And I hate that personally, and all these new formats of the World Cup and the UCL, I don't like whatsoever. I think it's ruining the game. So again, when you think about the good old days, obviously it's going to decline because we were a part of the greatest generation or era of football ever, in my opinion. And look, in regards to the Prem becoming a farmers league, look, yes and no. I think the Prem is a very competitive league. I mean, this year there was 3 teams that you could argue could have won the title. Like not like before the last 2 months. From August to March, mid-March, you could argue there was 3 teams that had a chance to win the title. After that, Liverpool collapsed and it was only 2 teams. But still, Arsenal did push City all the way. Now City's winning all the leagues obviously because they're the best team in England. But still, I mean, it's not like Bayern Munich back in the day where they were winning the league by 15 points every single year, Bayern or PSG when they're winning the league every single year and no one's even in contention with them. I think the Prem is still a very good league, but just City's just unbeatable, bro. They have the best player, they have the best players in the world, they have the best manager in the world. You're gonna win league titles if you have that, like obviously that collection. You have the fucking Avengers on your squad. But yeah, bro, I agree with this because I think football, everything post the era that we grew up watching is going to be worse because obviously we're tied to those good old days. But I think, look, don't be so pessimistic, man. Maybe there's some players that come, maybe Mbappe, Bellingham, Vini, Lamine Yamal, they kind of reignite that fire that we had for football back in the day. But I can 100% agree. I used to, like, on a day in 2017, I would be so hyped to turn on the Premier League and watch football, watch La Liga. I still love football. It's literally my fucking life to this day. Obviously, I have a whole channel dedicated to it. But I can say, me personally, it doesn't have that same feeling as it did back in the day. But again, maybe with this new crop of players that are coming through, it will change. But again, for me, when I compare it to the good old days and what I grew up watching, it's just not going to come close, man, because we grew up watching Messi, Ronaldo, the greats. And this generation, I'm afraid, doesn't really have those players. And the last take we have here is Rodrigo is so underrated and he doesn't get the hype he deserves. I 100% agree with this, bro. I think Rodrigo is one of the best players in the world. Honestly, I think he's world class. He gets into any starting 11 in the world today. Honestly, he does. Like, this guy is insane. I think he had 19 goals and 7 assists in all comps this year. I mean, the guy is an output machine. He's such a good player. Obviously, he comes up so big in the UCL for Real Madrid every time they need him. He scored in both legs against Man City. Had an assist against Bayern Munich in the semifinals. He's just a great player, man. I think Real Madrid have 2 very underrated players and underappreciated players in Rodrigo and honestly Fede Valverde, who could argue is the best midfielder in the world, but people barely ever talk about him. So again, those guys to me are massively underrated. But in regards to Rodrigo, I mean, keep in mind, this guy doesn't even play his preferred position. He likes to play left wing. He's playing right wing because at Real Madrid, left wing is Vini's position. No one's going to take that from Vini, obviously, because he's better than Rodrigo. But again, if this guy played for any other team in the world and it could be like his team in quote unquote, he would show that he's one of the best players in the world, in my opinion. And that, guys, is the end of part 9 of reacting to your football hot takes. I appreciate everybody who submitted their hot take, man. It really means the world to me. I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.